All right, Corey. So I think we are live now. We can give people a few minutes to jump in, but effectively, what we're talking about today is this crazy hack that happened to Twitter. It's kind of started like 2 or 3 hours ago, and it started with, I believe it was Binance getting hacked, or Angelo BTC, which is like a trader that had 100,000
Hmm.
followers getting hacked, and then it proceeded to hit almost every single major exchange, and then Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Apple, like effectively any Twitter account could be victim to this hack, and they were all doing one thing. They are all putting up a Bitcoin scam. We've all seen these scams. Send us X amount of Bitcoin, we'll send you twice back. Um,
Yep.
so, I mean, I know you've been following this. Like, what's your initial reaction to this?
It's great advertising for Bitcoin. No, it's really interesting. I mean, I think, obviously Twitter has really crapped the bed here with some level of security. And, I don't know if it's going to be an API got hacked or some sort of higher level system, or maybe a high level employee with a lot of clearance and their login got hacked. But somebody's been prepping these tweets for quite a while. They're done in the voices of the people that posted pretty closely for the most part. Um, and
Yeah, like the Bill
yeah,
Gates one was like, people have been asking me to give back. Here I go.
right. Or like Mr. Beast, the guy that always does the giveaways, like it looked and sounded exactly like a Mr. Beast tweet. So they've been prepping this for a while. I'm super curious to see what happens here. I went back and forth with Billy Bambro from Forbes a couple hours ago and just kind of like gave my take on it. And I think there is the potential for some crackdown on communications around Bitcoin, uh, and obviously cryptocurrency broadly on social media from something like this, just because something's got to be done, and companies and politicians are reactionary, and it's going to get a lot of press, et cetera. But even in just kind of like the short term, just beyond that, or even before anything like that even mobilizes, this much publicity, this many articles going out that mention Bitcoin, like it's got to be wildly positive for getting some more people into, as they say, the top of the funnel and helping them think like, huh, so this supposed fake internet money cryptocurrency, that's what they were asking for. Somebody who had the skill to hack Twitter and hack the accounts of all of these famous people and all these rich people and all these powerful people. They want Bitcoin. That's what they choose to take their compensation in.
Yeah.
Why? Why do they want Bitcoin?
No, I agree. People were tweeting about that. People were just talking about just the Google trends spiking up, and I posted about the Streisand effect,
Mm-hmm.
which is this idea of like as you try to hide something, the act of hiding it or trying to push it down only makes it more visible and more in your face. And if Bitcoin does get kind of cracked down on, I feel like it could definitely benefit from that effect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny to see this. I wonder if it's related to the same group that's been running the YouTube pre-roll ads the last couple of weeks that have been scamming a lot of people. But they've been putting out ads with like the exact same thing, like send $1,000 of Bitcoin or send half a Bitcoin, get a Bitcoin back.
Yep.
And YouTube has been accepting the money for those paid ads for the last 2 weeks, and it's just been this rolling scam that they've been non-responsive to. That to me is actually like much more egregious behavior than Twitter getting hacked. Like YouTube's taking money for it.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously the pre-roll scams are pretty terrible, but in general, like they'll go live and they'll just be playing like an interview that already happened
Mm,
from like a conference or something like that, and they'll have the scam going out on the video, and
mm,
YouTube will be promoting it with their algorithm because it's like
because
a
it's
high
live.
engagement live, yeah, video, and like I see them all the time, like every single time I'm like reporting it, and I just don't
Wow.
understand with like all of Google's, amazing technology to understand voices and like listen for songs that are copyrighted and mark it up in your stuff like immediately. Like, how can they not catch these blatant scams? And it seems to me like Bitcoin's kind of breaking the internet a little bit. Like, a lot of these companies and business models were based on a permission system, and now the permissionless system is kind of coming in, and nefarious people are using it to break a lot of the things that these social media platforms used to, you know, I guess just lean on.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's it's yeah, they're going to have to get better, and that's why I do kind of worry that they might end up just sniffing for keywords and essentially flagging way too many posts that say Bitcoin in it.
Yeah.
That could be an outcome. Because I don't know. It's certainly a blunt instrument, but maybe you can do that, and then some other things too, so you don't catch everything in the net. And certainly some of the ways that people get away with it the most, like the live streams. Maybe you take that capability away or something like that if it has Bitcoin and giveaway or send double your money or anything like that. It just gets flagged. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what Twitter did, and it makes sense, but they pretty much just turned off all checkmark accounts. So, for example, we're streaming this on the Bitcoin conference handle because Bitcoin Magazine is locked down right now because it has a blue check mark.
Yeah.
Um, so that is a little frustrating, but like clearly they're willing to use like kind of blunt heuristics in order to, solve something quickly. So obviously it makes sense in this case, but they could definitely apply
Yeah.
that more broadly just to Bitcoin in general.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of centralization. It's not too dissimilar from like rolling back the DAO hack.
Yep, absolutely. So I guess let's talk about let's talk about the fact that every single news outlet is now talking about Bitcoin scam. Like what does that mean for adoption in your mind?
Well, how many data points do we have of things like this? Like the Silk Road was probably broadly very good for Bitcoin adoption. You know, the Libra hearings last summer and Trump tweeting, negatively about Bitcoin was fantastic for Bitcoin price action. At Swan, we're going into battle mode right now. I can't say for sure that this is going to cause a big influx in users, but I think that it should. I think chances are it probably will. So I would expect more interest in Bitcoin just because it's in the news and it's in the headlines and people remember that it's there. And, maybe they haven't checked the price since it was, dropped off all-time high a couple years ago, and you're going to catch these people back and have them interested again. So, I mean, Bitcoin's anti-fragile. It's very much like a rock star. Like, all news is good news. All press is good press. I think that, the more I think about, talking about Bitcoin and thinking about Bitcoin marketing or Bitcoin promotion as like the way a rock promoter would, the better off you are.
So kind of taking it back to like the magnitude of this hack, like, you know, Elon Musk has moved the stock price of Tesla significantly with tweets. Like the amount of power that these hackers were wielding was extraordinary. Like they could have potentially been tweeting from these accounts, without being caught for some time. Why do you think that they went just for Bitcoin? And they didn't even collect that much Bitcoin. Last time I checked, it was just a little over 6 Bitcoin, which is, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, a very small amount of Bitcoin.
That's across like all the receiving addresses that they've set up. Somebody's been
Uh,
totaling them up.
I'm not. I think there's just one address that people were referring to. Do you know if they had separate
Oh,
addresses for each tweet?
I don't know if it was for each tweet. There's definitely more than one address across all the tweets.
Yep.
I saw a list of them, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever it is, like it's hard to profit off of insider trading. So if you went on and said something about some stock, there's a bunch of three-letter agencies that are going to go and look at the behavior of people that placed orders that they otherwise might not have. They get to the bottom of those things like fairly quickly, and they're interviewing everyone around you and figuring out who has hacking skills. And all of a sudden you're across the table from somebody that knows exactly what they're doing as they ask you hard questions. Versus this, maybe they didn't come up with a ton, but maybe it's probably the cleanest way to get away with some money. But they also might just be flexing skills a little bit. This is kind of like just proving that you can. I mean, this is the kind of thing where, Neo's talking to Trinity at the beginning of the Matrix, and he's like, "That was you? Oh my God, I thought you were like just it's showing off your skills and knowing that you were the person that was able to pull this off." I get a sense that it's probably a blend of both.
Okay, that's interesting. Something that I also kind of was observing, or at least like claiming at the beginning, was like the magnitude and the speed of these hackings. It quickly wasn't like a 2FA thing. Like it quickly became obvious that it was, Twitter itself had been compromised. Do you think that, like, and this is speculation, but do you think or have you heard of anything around Twitter employees being involved in something like this?
There's certainly conjecture that probably someone high up with pretty high, I mean, obviously like incredibly high access to systems was probably compromised. It doesn't, I haven't seen anything that says like, oh, there's, all of these people are using, HubSpot or Hootsuite or Sprout Social. That's clearly not the case, because a lot of people, even people I know who were hacked that have large accounts, don't use social posting. So, it probably is someone high up at Twitter whose login was compromised, and they've been in there for quite some time messing around.
Interesting. I'm very curious to see, and like this is kind of on the theme of Bitcoin breaking the current internet. I'm very curious to see um, if this becomes a trend. Obviously people are doing whatever their incentives push them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious if other kind of disgruntled employees at big companies are going to start saying, "Oh wow, like I can blackmail my employer, or I can blackmail people, or I can run scams using whatever platform I have access to easily with Bitcoin."
Yeah, it's certainly one of the risks. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being able to, send value with no trusted third party. It shifts things very much from, shifts the responsibility from the receiver to the sender. And, people are hopefully starting to realize that. And I think you'll see people, I mean, I've definitely heard some stories of, you know, getting scammed while drunk or otherwise compromised because you don't have all your senses, and you're just more susceptible to scams. And you can't Bitcoin with when you don't have your full mental capacity. So I think you'll see people doing things like setting up, multi-sig for any sort of significant amount of Bitcoin and only keeping. I think we'll all kind of move over time toward, multiple wallets, and you'll have your like never touch, your sometimes touch, and you're like, okay, well, if I lost that, for whatever reason by getting hacked or being stupid and sending it to the wrong address or being drunk and getting scammed or something like that, you're not going to lose very much. But yeah, there's having full access to a large stack of Bitcoin isn't really safe for most people.
Yeah, I mean, definitely agree with that. The points about multi-sig storage and stuff like that. And quick plug, I did a video showing people how to use Caravan by Unchained Capital to set up not completely sovereign multi-sig. So check that out. A great way to get started on your multi-sig journey. So Jeremy Rubin posted a tweet that I thought was extremely interesting. He said, "This is the ideal hyper-Bitcoinization mass adoption moment. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like." What do you think about that take?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you think of the impressions that are being generated right now, it's in a few days now, in the next few days, it's going to be more than all impressions generated by all of your efforts this year, all of our efforts, with 18 episodes of Swan Signal Live and all our posts and everything from Swan. and all the efforts of Pomp and Peter and everybody else, all of that combined is going to be bested in, basically, what is it, Wednesday? By Friday afternoon, we'll have more eyeballs on Bitcoin than all the efforts of all Bitcoiners for the first half of the year.
Is this bigger than the 2017 bull market in terms of impressions?
No, price action dominates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
It won't
you
be that big.
agree with Jeremy that this is like this is what mass adoption looks like? This is how Bitcoin inserts itself into the conversation?
Yes, I agree with that. This is one of the ways that could happen. And we've been kind of looking for like, what's that catalyst? What's that thing that could, really kick this thing off, this bull run? I think there's a good bet that this could be that thing. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. I'm not saying go and like spend an inordinate amount of money on call options immediately. I'm saying like this is the kind of thing that could spiral a bit and start a lot of conversations and really get a lot of people going. It's a big story. There's never been a social media platform get hacked like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously we're talking about what are the implications to Bitcoin, but I guess on the flip side, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but what are the implications for Twitter, right? Like Twitter's kind of been something that has been a center of attention since Donald Trump became president and his election in, leading up to that election. And just seeing how he wielded Twitter to, communicate directly to the people. And obviously, people are like, what should Twitter be? Like, who should control Twitter? Like, who should make decisions around Twitter? Like, where do you think the Twitter conversation goes from here?
I don't know necessarily that this has that much of an effect on that conversation. Um, I think they're probably separate. That's just my take on it. I think you've got like a hack and scam thing going on over here, and then you've got like a whole censorship, intellectual dark web kind of thing on the other side. And should Twitter be on a path to becoming a public utility? And if it is, then are there multiple versions of Twitter? And is it better to have one Agora where we all kind of have to meet, even if the algorithm mostly puts us in a bubble? I don't know, man. It's a fascinating time to be alive, and it's a fascinating time to be on Bitcoin Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you gotta bounce soon, but any kind of like any insider knowledge, any tip that you've seen while you've been kind of like looking at all this stuff as it unfolds, anything you want to leave the audience with?
Well, I can stay on for a little bit if you have somebody else coming in. I
No,
can
no,
at
you're
least
good.
stay and give you a warm handoff if you're going to bring somebody else in.
I'm trying to recruit, but no one stepped up to the
Yeah.
plate quite yet.
Well, keep that going. So I don't know. Give me another question. I'll go for a little bit while you send some telegrams and find somebody to sub in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, appreciate it, CK.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess just trying to like riff on this, like what do you think are like the short-term narratives? I'm already seeing people like say this is exactly why we have to ban cryptocurrency, like nothing good can happen from it. Um, like do you see that being a strong narrative, or do you see like wow, eCash, this is how eCash works as kind of being a stronger narrative? Like what's most of it?
And I think the stronger narrative is the latter, and that's just because we have, Bitcoin has truth on its side. It's been a dream of people working on the internet since the inception of the internet to be able to transfer value over the internet. And it wasn't a discovery. It was the completion of a process, a problem that was identified that needed to be solved, and it was finally solved in 2008 and went live in early 2009. And it's not going anywhere, and nobody can ban it any more than you can ban the internet or get rid of humans, in which case, like, why bother with being a government? So I don't see much downside here, other than for social media platforms as being the vehicle for it. Now there could be there could be some noise in the attempts to kind of like, toss around some epithets toward Bitcoin, and you know, but the thing is, like, even if they say, oh, it's dangerous, Well, it's dangerous means that it's valuable. It means you can lose some value, which means it's not a Ponzi and it's not a scam and it's not a, it's not fake internet money that's not worth anything. Like they're not asking for, shift rocks. They're asking for Bitcoin because they can actually send it and it has value and they can take it with them. So I am not concerned really with. I think we're just kind of putting in the rear view the idea that Bitcoin doesn't have value. It clearly does, because someone with access, the highest level of access and the most skills, at least as demonstrated in a social media platform hack of all time, chose to say Bitcoin in every tweet and try to collect the proceeds from their hacking skills and their social engineering skills to get Bitcoin. Whether that means they valued Bitcoin the most or that Bitcoin was the best way to extract that value and to take that value. Either way, it's incredible advertising for Bitcoin.
Yep. Yep. All right, Corey. Well, thank you. Thank you for jumping on and holding it down with me. I got the man, the myth, the legend,
Yeah.
young Gucci T on to give his takes. So thanks again, and hope you have a great rest of your evening, man.
Hey, good to be with you, CK. Tommy, it's good to see you, man.
You too, Corey. What's up?
Doing all right, man. I'm looking forward to the debut of Max and the Swan, but that's just a little teaser.
Oh,
Yeah,
baby. Okay.
coming soon.
All right, all right. Okay, well, thanks, guys. Enjoy this wild and crazy ride over the next few days. We're all going to be answering a lot of questions.
Never a dull day, especially not this one.
Not this one. This is going to be great. All right, enjoy.
All right, bro. What is good?
Dude, I actually just had a family text me on our little family group chain asking what all these celebrities asking people. Let's see, what did they say? What's up with prominent people asking for money for charities? Send money through Bitcoin. Just saw a bit of the news. Obviously, it's not them. Some hacking involved. That was my aunt. And she doesn't know anything about Bitcoin. So shame on me for having my family not know too much about Bitcoin, but they're safe from the scam. But it's
Can't
all
get
over
scammed unless you have Bitcoin.
Exactly. That's why I'm the way I figured I'm holding it for them. So they'll reap the benefits without falling victim to scams like that. But I mean, as soon as I saw you tweet out the Bill Gates thing, I mean, that's pretty bullish, even though it's terrible, and hopefully no one fell victim to that. But like, come on, like, still just asking for Bitcoin and these simple scams.
Yeah, when it was like Coinbase and Binance, I was like, okay, like this is like, this is crazy, but I thought it was just a Bitcoin like, community thing. These are just people who are already into crypto. But as soon as it started going to Apple and Bill Gates, I was like, holy shit, this is like a massive Bitcoin billboard across the internet right now.
Did we get hacked?
We did not get hacked, but we are locked down. So we are actually streaming on the conference handle and not on Bitcoin Magazine proper because we can't tweet right now.
Okay.
All blue check marks are locked down.
Is that's what's up right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually I was just moving some stuff into my new place, so I haven't been on my phone much in the past couple of hours. So yeah, this is all relatively new news to me, but crazy stuff. Like, is there any explanation so far, or is everyone still just recovering from the initial blows?
I mean, we should do a little sleuthing on Twitter to get some more information. But from my understanding, I've actually seen like I'm assuming that has some component of like an inside job. I feel like there's no way someone just hacked all this access for out of nothing.
Yo, I gotta run and grab a pizza real quick. You wanna keep talking while I do that?
Yeah, whatever, man. Go get your pizza.
Whatever. Be right back.
All right. Whoever's on the stream or whoever's watching, what should we talk about? What comment? What's happening here? Okay, someone's saying that we got 12 to 13 Bitcoins that were taken. 12.8 cent. Okay. Someone says free advertising. What else is happening? So, I mean, I'm curious, like, how is Bitcoin going to continue to surprise us? Like, I feel like Bitcoin adoption is not going to happen in the way that we expect. Like, everyone's like, oh, yay, sound money, I'm buying in. Like, it's going to be a really interesting process of Bitcoin rubbing up against the world and rubbing up on places that uh, aren't meant for Bitcoin. Just like Twitter with these Twitter scams, just like YouTube with these YouTube scams. Like, they're just not equipped to handle permissionless eCash. And people are starting to figure out that there's a lot of money to be made by arbitraging these issues. All right, I gotta close my window real quick. Give me a sec. These damn gardeners. What else is going on? Sorry guys, I'm trying to multitask here. Okay, we're getting Brandon Green on the podcast. Okay, this is good. This is good. I need some backup. I need some backup opinions. I think I'm just rambling here. But yeah, apologize all the swiveling. I only have one screen at the moment. I'm at my parents' house. But what are people saying on Facebook? Let's see. What are people saying on the narrative mainstream media is talking about regardless of this Bitcoin? I don't know what that says. Okay. Yo, what's up, Brandon?
Yo, how's it going?
It's going good. I need you to save me because I'm rambling and have nothing to talk about. Tommy ditched me.
Tommy ditched you. Are we live?
We are live right now. Yeah, so
All right, let's
there's
go.
at least 30 people that have just been watching me talk. So,
Okay. All right, so let's chat.
so we had Corey Clipston on. We kind of like talked about the typical talking points. I guess let's just start off with what's your impression of like what just went down?
Dude, so first and foremost, here's what I'm gathering is this was just some dude. This was not like some mastermind who got like this idea and worked for it for days and like was planning on doing this big hack. I think this guy literally had a buddy at Twitter who handed him some keys, and maybe the buddy at Twitter was like disgruntled or something. And he was like, well, I don't know what to freaking do. I see these guys scamming all the time with this, send this Bitcoin to this address and I'll send you it back. So I'll just copy that and see what happens. Like, I don't think this dude had any clue the kind of power that he got handed over. I mean, I just tweeted a second ago, but this is going to sound like a huge overreaction take, but I legitimately think this guy, before everyone knew that he had the access, was this one of the single most powerful people in the entire world. Like, no joke. Think about the access that he had. He could have, if he wanted to, declared war from Trump's account on another country. He could have he hacked Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel.
Did he get Trump's account?
I'm actually shocked they didn't tweet from Trump.
Well, so
That
I mean, I
would've
think
been
that's partially.
insane.
I think whoever it was didn't want like necessarily to do this. Like that's my guess is like they were like, well, I have this crazy opportunity. I don't know what the heck to do with it. Might as well see if I can get some Bitcoin out of it. But I think if we're looking at like a truly nefarious actor that wanted to watch the world burn, that's the first thing they would have done. You get in Trump's account, you start a war, you threaten a nuke, anything like that. I mean, this is really showing how vulnerable our communications are when the president and the commander in chief is behind the nuclear launch codes tweeting all the time. So that's the first big take is holy cow, we're vulnerable. Let's learn a lesson here. The second thing is and like the second key piece of information I see is that it started in the Bitcoin space. It started with CZ and Binance.
Yep.
Which means that whoever it was, and again, like I think this person was just making up as they went, is a crypto person first. So clearly, like it's not like someone who's got something against Twitter. It's not someone who's a hacker in general. Like they're crypto minded first. That's my guess. And so there is, like, you can begin to start parsing out some psychology that they had. They went for Binance and CZ, then they went for, Coinbase and Gemini, and then they started, going to I think CoinDesk got hit right after that or something. So like, you can tell how they were thinking by the next accounts that they were kind of targeting. And then, at some point the like thing flipped in their mind. They're like, wait a second, I've got the keys to freaking Kanye West's Twitter and Elon Musk's Twitter. And they're like, why am I just looking at, these crazy small crypto accounts? And so it's funny to watch the psychology of this person kind of grow as this whole thing unfolded. And yeah, I mean, there's a big ramble right there, but what do you think?
Well, I think the way that you broke down maybe like like how they went about choosing the accounts, like that kind of makes sense. Thinking about like saying that it wasn't planned out at all, I don't know, because like a lot of these tweets were like in the people's voices, right? It's like at least they put some thought into like, how would Bill Gates say it? How would this person say it? Like they kind of did customize it a little bit. So I don't know.
I could have come up with that. I could have come up with that at the moment.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
the moment. I mean, I think we're giving this guy.
it had to have
let's say-
insider insider like keys or whatever in order to be able to do that.
I mean, it
So
takes a few seconds to read somebody's Twitter feed and try to like emulate the way they say shit, especially if all you're saying at the end of the day is send me Bitcoin to this address.
Yeah. It's like
But
take
I'm
a
talking
canned
about,
message
like,
and optimize it a little bit.
If this guy was truly looking, like, had a plan, he wouldn't have just shilled a Reflink or like a Bitcoin address. He would have opened up some really big shorts on a bunch of different exchanges, and then gone on those exchanges' Twitter accounts and said, yo, we just got hacked. Everyone, take your money off now, like, while you still can. Otherwise, your money's lost to these hackers. He could have wreaked so much damage if he had just actually done a legitimate, thought through attack. But instead, he just was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I've got all this power, so I'm just going to send out a Bitcoin address and see what I can get.
Well, I mean, what if they just wanted easy money? Like, doing some complicated short scheme is a lot harder than just collecting Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, just had the Peanut Gallery weigh in on me and tell me that he did set up a website. So at least there was some amount of premeditation to this. I would still argue that website, I didn't even look at the website. I don't know how much info was there, how long that would have taken to set up.
It was a simple website. Yeah, and they listed a bunch of the crypto accounts. So like you
Yeah,
kind of
so-
knew that they were gonna, like, I was like, oh man, I actually posted a tweet like screenshotting the website saying, I bet these are the accounts that are gonna go after. And then
Yeah.
Coinbase got hit, an hour later or something like that. Never got
So-
Robinhood though. They never got Robinhood.
Oh, interesting. You see, so I think
He
like,
graduated to Apple first.
honestly, that's probably what it was. See, I don't think there was like a bot that was going through. Like, I think this dude had the username and password and was manually logging in and going to the next account. Like, I think that this was a painstaking process for this guy to log in and jump into the next account and so on and so on. Otherwise, they would have done it all at the same time and had this like massive, everyone sees the tweet and does it. And you save, the risk that people have already seen a previous tweet, realize it's a scam, and you don't get them this time. So, no, this seemed like a crime of opportunity, and it was more than anything, it was a huge red flag at how vulnerable we all are to have our information on Twitter. I mean, I think it was it Nick Carter who tweeted out like, don't forget that this guy has the DMs of every verified Twitter account in the world, basically.
Yep.
Like, what sort of power do you wield with that sort of information? I mean,
Yep.
granted, you shouldn't be putting anything private through your DMs, but how many people actually would follow that advice? Probably not many.
I'm sure there's some interesting blackmail that could have been pulled from that.
Yeah, and just like insider information, random company property, intellectual property, kind of like there's all sorts of stuff. Like, this was, I think Naval tweeted this, like, I totally agree. This was the least creative, lowest impact possible hack that like social engineering hack could have done. So I really think it was an interesting like cautionary tale for us to realize, these are where we're vulnerable. These are the places we're vulnerable, and let's not let the worst case scenario of this play out, next year. Because we've got to make changes. Like Twitter's got to make some changes now. Otherwise, we all need to get the heck off that platform because just having the president on there, being able to just riff off tweets that can be interpreted however they want is like the biggest vulnerability of the entire world.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like a lot of big companies are trusting Twitter and the Twitter, team and servers and technology to represent them, right? Like Donald Trump trusts, and many politicians trust Twitter to, verify that is them, and then to be their platform, to be their voice. So I'm kind of curious. DB, our CEO, is asking, should Twitter have shut itself down, and why did it take so long to stop this? It went on for hours.
Yeah. I mean,
wait. Let's
go.
Let's go to Tommy, because I know that you've been monologuing for a second. What do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm honestly just catching up on the whole thing. I know Brandon has a lot more to add. Is the expert here, but I mean, shutting down, I don't know. I think in the context of like global security and the way how Brandon put it, with anyone getting a hold of Trump's Twitter could potentially start a whole lot of shit. Pardon my French. I don't know. There really is. I don't know the answer to that.
Word. All right, back to Brandon. Should they have shut it down? Why did it take so long?
So here's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing the SpongeBob image of like the what is it, Krabby Patty Shack. Oh my god, I'm gonna get railed if I can't come up with
Crab
the name
Shack.
of SpongeBob. Yeah. So anyways, where SpongeBob works, like it's on fire and everyone's running around like with their heads cut off, right? That's what I'm picturing basically happening in Twitter HQ when this thing starts happening. I don't think any of them know how this guy is managing to log into all these accounts, at least at first. I think it took them a long time to figure that out. And like, until you figure that out, you kind of think, oh, like maybe he socially engineered, their Slack and managed to figure out, the password and username of Binance and Coinbase, and was like sitting on this for a while.
It didn't
like,
take long to figure it out that wasn't it though. Like,
yeah. And so then I think, if you're Twitter, all right, all of this transpired in what, the span of 2.5, 3 hours. Like it's not like it was a day. It's not like it was that long. I bet no single person has the power in Twitter to, push the nuke button and turn off Twitter, like take it down completely. I bet there's got to be, it's a publicly traded company. You probably have to have some sort of board decision. Even I'm just making this up. But like, what is the rule of law for Twitter? Like, how does that decision get made in order to decide to, shut down the service for an unscheduled maintenance? I don't know. So, I don't think it can just be one or two higher ups that are monitoring this. I'm sure Jack Dorsey would need to sign off to shut it down. I'm sure there would have to be some other people giving the go ahead. So I don't think it's just an easy thing to say, take it down. Maybe it should be, but I don't think it was up until this point.
All right. So let's shift the conversation a little bit. What does this mean for talking about Bitcoin on platforms like YouTube and Twitter moving forward? Because a lot of these scams have been going on both, and now there's a huge limelight on Bitcoin scams. Like, no matter what you say, everyone is paying attention to these Bitcoin scams now. That's for sure. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean for the future of using YouTube and using Twitter to talk about Bitcoin, Tommy?
I feel like it definitely gives a nice segue into the Bitcoin security conversation and educating people on the one-way nature of Bitcoin and how these scams can happen. But it kind of sucks because now Bitcoin's back in the conversation and it's about scams. So it really it's important, I guess, to point out that the only reason Bitcoin is used in these scams is because, it's valuable and they know how to get it, and you're not going to be able to get it back. Like it's proving the use case, but now people are associating Bitcoin with the scam again. It's definitely, I guess I didn't answer your question, but it's definitely like I'm already seeing this being an issue with the people that don't understand Bitcoin. But as far as like talking about it on Twitter and stuff, I mean, I've always been weary of people that say that they're giving away Bitcoin for any reason whatsoever, or if they put their address and tell you to send them something. I mean, why would you have to do that? So it's just going to be an education issue still, but hopefully it doesn't cause Twitter to flag Bitcoin speech or anything like that, because then a lot of us would be screwed.
Well, I mean, just to talk about how they did flag this, essentially the short-term fix so far to stop the scam was to just disable all posting from blue checkmark accounts. So, I mean, we don't even know if this guy has been revoked access. Like, this guy could still, start messing with larger non-blue checkmark accounts, right? Like, there's nothing, as far as we know, they haven't solved that problem. They just were like, nope, we're just turning off blue checkmarks for right now. So I don't see why they just say, nope, we're turning off anything that does keyword Bitcoin, or we're muting it, or we're shadow banning it. Like, they don't necessarily even have to ban it. They can just make it so it can't be discovered. Like, I've been shadow banned before, and there's nothing on Twitter that teaches you how to get unshadow banned. You have to use some like weird right-wing website to find out that you're shadow banned and to like give you tips on how to get unshadow banned. So I mean,
it's a slippery slope that Twitter's going to try to navigate here.
And it's just not Twitter; it's everything, though. Like Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, all of these, platforms that let people freely put out content can effectively be homes to scams.
So two different threads to pull at here. I think the first one is like, how does Twitter fix this problem? I don't know exactly what happened, but my gut, and this is totally speculation, but my gut says that some dude got a clone of their database where they store verified Twitter accounts or Twitter accounts in general, username and password. And someone, Control C and Control V and sent that thing to this dude. So this dude's sitting with everyone's login information. All right. It's probably not updating, but he probably has like a screenshot of what everyone's login information was. The way that Twitter probably is going to the way that Twitter is going to have to solve this, I think, is going to be to literally force every single person who is in that database to change their password and maybe in their email too. Like, I don't know how much security they want to do, but until like, I think that's when the next messaging is going to be like Twitter reaching out saying, hey, your account has been compromised. You need to change your password. And like, they'll be able to see probably from like, a screen grab of that database from 3 days ago, what everyone's email and password were. And then they'll see if anyone like changed email addresses. And then if they changed email addresses, then, revert back to that email and then say, use this, reactivate your account, all that kind of stuff. So I think that they have a path in order to fix this. I don't think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to take too much, but it'll take a lot from everyone who got hacked and everyone who's vulnerable. And we'll find out there too, whether it's just verified people or whether it's, everyone, because it could be everyone, who knows? So that's the first thing. The second thing,
what about 2FA? Like, shouldn't some of these companies have legitimate like hard coded 2FA, just like we do, just like I do with my personal account, like on devices? Like this guy had more access than just like I had their password and username.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I don't know whether Twitter also somehow stores like the secret key of their 2FA in that same database. Like, that'd be really dumb, but who knows? Like, I don't know what kind of access this guy had, but I doubt that he is literally sitting inside of Twitter's actively developing Twitter database, right? I don't think so, but he might. I don't know.
He was on God mode. He signed into
God mode. I don't think he was on God
Twitter.
mode. I don't think he was. Whatever that means. Like, I hope that there was like one buffer between him and just like completely running the platform, but who knows? But so that's kind of the first answer. But the second question you ask is actually a really interesting one. I think it's a bigger question, which is, the mainstream gets to run with this however they choose. And the mainstream does not understand Bitcoin at all. It's been 11 years. They still don't get it, right? And so we are going to go through an issue once again where a big scam took place and people asked for Bitcoin. And the mainstream narrative is going to be Bitcoin hackers are hacking the world for Bitcoin because Bitcoin's bad, or like some sort of incoherent garble of
That's
this.
exactly
Like,
what I was saying. Yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be bad for Bitcoin until we're able to re-educate people that this is a vote of confidence for Bitcoin.
but now I will say,
But it's
like, on the flip
it's
side,
also red pilling a ton of people to Bitcoin. Like you were just talking about how your aunt, who never talks about Bitcoin at all, messaged you about Bitcoin. Like some of those people are going to actually go down the rabbit hole.
basically every time everyone has first heard of Bitcoin, they heard about it because of some sort of scam. Save a few people. Generally, that's how people get introduced to it. There's a hack, it was a scam. There's the malware, the ransomware, whatever it is, right? It's like that's just something that Bitcoin's always going to have to work against. What's annoying here is that even today, we still haven't been able to break into the mainstream narrative, the blue check mark narrative of like being able to articulate why Bitcoin is good. And so all this is ammo for that sort of bubbled narrative to continue to self-perpetuate. And there's nothing we can really do about that. And like our goal should be, and this should be a goal of ours as Bitcoin Magazine, but it should be a goal of a lot of the different important people in the space, is to figure out how we can make some inroads with these people who are cracking the narratives of the world, so that we can start setting the record straight about what Bitcoin really is, how Bitcoin was involved in this hack. It was a way of payment, the same way that they could have just asked you to, send them a $2 bill and they'd send you back $2 bills, or this was just one way to do it. And so it's just a tool, and tools can be used for good. Tools can be used for bad. When it's a tool that's just out there, it's up to you how you use it. And so
Yeah, but the world
I
doesn't
don't
have
know,
nuance. The world doesn't
but
have
the world
nuance.
needs, but Bitcoin is nuanced, right? Like there's so much to it. And so I think we all need to ask ourselves, ask yourself, what have you done for Bitcoin today? No, but like ask yourself, how can we as a community and as an industry continue to fight the narratives that are going to inevitably pop up around people who are so woke and so get it, who are just going to write Bitcoin off and say, look, it's a scam. There you go. And like, how are we finally going to supplant their voices in the conversation that our grandmas and our parents and our brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and everyone, how do we replace them in the conversation so that they can hear a different side of it? And so that's the bigger obstacle that we all need to tackle coming out of this.
All right. So something I agree. I don't know necessarily how it's gonna work out though. I don't know how the narrative is gonna unfold. But I do want to think like, so obviously Bitcoin worked, right? So these scammers used Bitcoin and Bitcoin worked well for them. They are, I think they've reached at least over 12 BTC, which in the future is going to be worth a lot of money. So they have successfully acquired lots of Bitcoins. But like, what about society? Like, nothing about, other than the fact that they took over Twitter, like, nothing about running Bitcoin scams is going to stop. Like, for this to stop being effective, like, society itself needs to change, right? People need to understand how Bitcoin works, that these scams, are scams. Like, there's a massive amount of like global education that needs to be done for people to just not fall for scams, right? Like, what do you guys think about that? Like, Bitcoin works, posting on Twitter works. Like, what needs to happen to society for this to stop? Let's go with Tommy. If you don't have anything to say, I know you're talking to other people. We can jump back to Brandon.
Yeah, well, I was man, I just lost my train of thought there.
What's wrong with people, man? Why do they keep falling for these scams? And how are they going to learn?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like saying like, hey, if somebody says says mail them $100 bill and put your return address on the envelope and just send it to me, and I'll send you back 200. Like, there's no way for you to like retrieve that envelope once you've sent it out. Like, there's no button that you can press where it's just like automatically comes back to your mailbox. So I feel like if you can explain that in a pretty literal sense, you can explain what's happening when you're sending Bitcoin to an address that, you know, it's up to them to send it back. And if they're lying to you, they're not going to send it back. So I think it's just a given that, you know, no good company or person is going to ask you to do that. One thing I was going to ask is, do we know, did the guy use multiple different addresses, or did he use the same address in all the tweets that he sent out?
I think it was multiple addresses, but
So we can see which
One main address.
there is a main address, but there were multiple addresses. That's something that Corey said before you guys jumped on.
Can we see like which account was most effective in scamming people? Like, was it Biden's account?
That'd be interesting.
Like,
Yeah, that'd be some juicy stuff to digest.
Let's go ahead and dissect the whole thing then, because that's it's interesting that like now it's like, oh shit, we could have used that for real, but some you know, I think it is an issue where Bitcoin as a fundraising platform, you definitely need to know who it is you're sending your funds to. Like, it should be a no-brainer, but people, I guess, trust institutions so heavily that they feel like, you know, there's going to be some kind of safeguard somewhere, but not with Bitcoin. If you're just sending your Bitcoin to an address you don't know.
So I've got a different take. All right. So hear me out. The first thing that I think about is I'm picturing like 1886 regulator talking to another regulator and saying, how the heck are we going to get these people to stop buying snake oil, right? And it's like, eventually no one fell for a snake oil salesman again, right? You know, like, at least not literally snake oil. It was something else. People have been scammed throughout history. And I think that that's never going to stop. What I do think, and here's like an optimistic twist to all of this, is I don't think there's going to be another person fall for a send me 1 Bitcoin and I'll send you back 2 Bitcoin scam ever again. You know, like, this has hit a critical mass of eyeballs. The mainstream media is all talking about it. Grandma's not going to fall for this one if she saw it on ABC News tonight, right? So like, it's a hopeful thing, and I'm sure there's going to be exceptions. Don't get me wrong, but I think like this might be the you know, bang that this kind of type of scam goes out with. And so like, ultimately people learn by mistake. And, you know, the reason why I didn't get my Bitcoin when, you know, Mt. Gox got hacked is because I lost it in Bitcoinica. You know, like, people learn when they make mistakes and when they get scammed. And hey puppy, hey Bruce. And like, that's just how people are going to learn. And you can tell them, you can warn them, but until it happens to them, it's never going to mean enough for them to actually do something proactively. So I think that, you know, and optimistically, this is it. Like, at least they're going to have to get more creative. They're going to have to come up with a different way to scam people, because this one's never going to happen again successfully.
I don't know about that. Elon Musk was having like fake accounts tweeting about ETH and BTC, and we've all heard of like the Nigerian prince scam. Like, you know, that's like an anecdote at this point, but it seems to still be working, right? So I don't think that this is over. I think that the send BTC, give twice as much BTC back is just beginning.
If it is over, that's huge, but I'm, you know, it's yet to be seen.
So I mean, I will say someone's going to try it again. It'll be tried again, but I don't think it'll ever be successful again. It'll kind of dwindle down, just like I'm giving away ETH like 2018 kind of wave of fake Twitter accounts ended. You know, it took time. It diminishing returns. Eventually, people stopped doing it because they weren't making any money off of it. And so
let's talk about YouTube, because like the strategy just takes on different mediums, right? First, it was like the fake accounts, then it was like the fake checkmark accounts, and then it was YouTube, and now it's this like massive Twitter compromise of real accounts.
Mhm.
And like, do you like again? Let's talk about the YouTube scams. Have you guys been seeing those at all?
I haven't watched them, but I've seen them.
So you've seen
I
them
know. I
pop
know what you're
up. They're
talking
like
about.
recommended. It's like a pre-roll ad as well. They just
Yeah,
play like
I've
old
seen nothing about
videos.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people are never going to stop trying to figure out ways to get your Bitcoin from you. That's never going to end. Just like people have been scamming since the history of conversation, and so it's not going to take this form, but it'll take another form, and it'll always maybe it won't be in Bitcoin, maybe it'll be with your uh, I don't know, your future avatar matrix person login. I don't know, but like I'm always gonna want something you have and want to use the least amount of work in order to get it, and that is inherently what a scam is. And so I wouldn't be so caught up in preventing people from falling for the next scam as much as it is about like once people fall for one scam, they're not going to fall for another one, and you just have to make sure people learn the lesson when they have to.
So you guys, I think the okay. So I think that Bitcoin Magazine is back. Yo, let's not. I'm not gonna mess around with this. It's making me go through some sign up thing. So I don't want to get us locked out. Um, we should end this because I need to eat dinner. Thanks you guys for coming on, giving the takes. I think that this is just the beginning. We have no idea what's about to unfold. 2020, what a freaking year! What a freaking year!
What was
Um,
No.
the Arthur Hayes quote?
yeah, what a fucking shit show. All right, guys. Tommy, where can people find you? Who do you want to hear from?
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Super Rare. You can find my website, Tommy Portfolio with the .io. Yeah, I think the shit show is the understatement of the century. So we're gonna have a lot to unpack.
What's your handle?
Young Gucci T on Twitter.
Cool. All right, Brand, where can people find you, man?
At brand BTC. You can still find me on Twitter. I'm still there. I'm going to boldly hold out until my account finally gets hacked in a couple years when they've run out of every other account that they can possibly hack. So check me out there, and check me out at Bitcoin Magazine.
For sure. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. For everyone who tuned in, stay safe, stay sane. Adios.